Right, delighted to say joining me is former Palace Newcastle midfielder, a massive Spurs fan. He's taken a deep breath, Mr. Darren Ambrose. How are you feeling, mate?
Look, amazing. I think I'm one of the only ones that have not flip-flapped and turned their back against Ange. I've always maintained Ange could create something special at the football club. The first time last night, actually, that I heard him in his interview, first time say league campaign's not been good enough. I think he's always backed the team, which is what you want from a manager.
And in that sense, he's been a shield for the players.
100%. And I think I actually liked to hear that, because sometimes you think, don't you, is he deluded? Like when Erik ten Hag was at Manchester United, is he deluded? Is he really believing that? Last night he actually said, league campaign's not been good. We know that. That needs to improve. But he done what he said he was going to do. And I'm here all the time. And producer Jeremy is always playing that clip, and I am absolutely buzzing that Spurs have got a trophy over the line after so many years.
Look, it's obviously a massive moment of vindication for Ange, and you could see the relief on him physically. Like, he looks like a different person, because for so much of the season he's been under the cosh. I think at times he's come across not particularly well with the media and maybe made a rod for his own back.
Yep.
Before we talk about the ins and outs of the final itself, he seems to be hopeful that this is going to be a massive building block for the players. They've tasted victory. He wants to build something for the Champions League. But clearly within himself, there is a bit of doubt. We've just heard him say, "Que sera, sera." What do you clearly want this to be the beginning of something special for Ange at Spurs, but what do you think is going to happen?
Well, look, I want it to be the start of something special for Spurs, first and foremost. Whether Ange Postecoglou is there or whoever may be there, it needs to be a building block for the football club. It's been a long time, 07-08, that they won the League Cup. I think 1984, my birth year, when they won the European Cup. So it's been a long time. So you want them to build on this, but we've seen before, winning these trophies doesn't always mean you're going to now be serial winners. It doesn't mean that. We see with Blackburn, of course, been out the Premier League for 17 years now. They won the Prem. So we've seen it before. I just hope Spurs can build on this. Look, as I said, I've been Ange in from day one, and I think I've been close. I've been real close to getting on that train, or off that train, should I say. But I hope he's given another opportunity. I do. But I think we always see Ange and we perceive him as someone who doesn't take the media particularly seriously, doesn't take the opinions too seriously. But then we see with the clown argument that he does actually, and he does listen and read certain things, and he takes that on board, and he argues back. I like my manager being spiky when you lose. I do. Obviously, he can endear himself a little bit better, but this just needs to be a building block. You don't want to be a one-hit wonder. Everyone's delighted. The monkey's off your back, as it were, that you've got that trophy. So you need to build on that. And look, starting with the league campaign next season, it's not been good enough. He admitted that himself. I don't think if we were going so far in the Europa League, it would be as bad. But it would have still been pretty bad. I think would have been languishing in mid-table. But that needs to improve.
You talk about building blocks, Darren. I look at it. Last night, Spurs' defensive performance was completely, and whether you can take this as criticism or not, I think it's just reality, was completely uncharacteristic to what we've seen Spurs this season. They defended so well and kept out a United side who, in the Europa League, have shown that they've got those special moments in the tank. You talk about building blocks. Arguably, Postecoglou outshone Amorim because he showed that he could do something different, and he spoke post-game about playing differently in Europe and having different systems and growing up through Australian football where it's playoffs and things like that. He's clearly got that in his locker. Yeah. What did you make of that in terms of last night, and why haven't we seen that in the Premier League this season?
Yeah, that obviously begs the question as why we haven't seen that in the Premier League, particularly when we had all those injuries and didn't have the players to play the way he wanted to play. I think he has shown a different side to him, and I think it's such a unique season in terms of the injuries, losing, even when we had the full squad, losing to Ipswich, losing to Palace, losing to teams in and around them at that particular time, then going on that ridiculous losing streak, then getting all the players back, but solely focused on the Europa League. It's been such a unique season. That's why it's been terrible. But you can see, and I think just judging by social media, I know that that's not the be all and end all, but judging by that, supporters are seeming to turn back in Ange's favour because they've seen this different style.
Do you not worry though that it's going to be another Ten Hag United thing, and people's judgment, maybe even Daniel Levy's fans, are clouded by the victory when the reality is you're fourth bottom, and in any other Premier League season could well be fighting for survival on the last day of the season?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yes, 38 points I think we're on now. It would have been really close, of course, that magical 40 point, which has not been there for a little while.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not been good enough. But I flip that when I've been asked this before and say, how much has it improved at Manchester United since they got rid of Erik ten Hag?
Well,
exactly. In fact, it's arguably got worse.
Well, it has. Statistically it has, right?
Exactly. They're 16th, obviously one place above. They're trophyless, and they haven't been trophyless under Erik ten Hag. So I flip it in that argument, and look, this is me backing Ange again.
No, fair enough.
Hopefully he understands what needs to be done. What I don't want, though, is to see the board, see Daniel Levy and the unit group, of course, to look and think, well, won a trophy with this squad. It's a good squad. We can go places, and not back them in the summer. So if Ange is still there, back him, give him some funds, give him the players that he can play this system with when he wants. But now we've seen a different side to Ange. So hopefully, if he is still here, it's crazy even saying that after winning the Europa League. But that's obviously the narrative around it. Hopefully he can build on that, and he does have a plan A and plan B, and maybe even a plan C. And we're not only getting Champions League or European football by winning a European trophy, but we are up in the league as well. And he has to. He has this Champions League campaign as well, which you can attract big players in that.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about, I think, two of the main characters for Spurs last night. Brennan Johnson, obviously, as a Forest fan for me, I'm delighted to see him lifting a European trophy. He's had a lot of stick earlier on in the season, but I think he's Spurs' top goal scorer. I guess you'll know as a player, it doesn't matter how it goes in, it's gone in, and he's written himself into Spurs history.
It doesn't matter how it's gone in. Now, I've watched all the replays. I don't know if it skimmed off his foot in the end or not, but he will be taking that. I would certainly be taking that if that was me. Back post Brennan, he's nicknamed this season, but it was front post Brennan yesterday. It was amazing, but it just summed up the game really in itself. It real lacked quality, the game. Doesn't matter to me as a Spurs supporter. It doesn't say in brackets after the engraving, oh, by the way, it was a poor quality game. Doesn't say, it just says winners. But it was a scrappy game, but who cares? I like him. I watched him at Ipswich as well at Portman Road, where he scored a couple of goals. He's always there. He always arrives at the right place at the right time. And he doesn't let this negativity phase him. Yeah,
he's got great character and, of course, pace for days, which in the Premier League you need. Another massive moment, I think, that will be remembered as fondly is Van der Ven on the line. I mean... That could have been a game-changing moment because it looked like United were beginning to pile on the pressure. You had Harry Maguire going up top in what seems to be Amorim's preferred position for him. And that is just a world-class acrobatic on-the-line save.
I thought it was in. I really did. When it come off Ficaro's head, landed on the head of, was it Højlund? Højlund, yes, he headed it
Probably
back.
The one person Spurs fans would want it to land to.
Unbelievable what they landed to him. But to be fair, he'd done everything right. But the one player you wanted, the pace and the awareness of Van der Ven to get back on the line, I thought Van der Ven and Romero were absolutely magnificent heroes on the night. Romero got player of the match, and obviously Van der Ven cleared one off the line. Didn't have much creativity on the pitch, so Porro and Udogie were those players, but I think you said it earlier on, I think we defended extremely well.
And you had that sort of brute sort of grit like that I haven't seen. You know, Forest went to Spurs just a few weeks ago, beat you 2-1. And what struck me about Spurs, who all of my life have been a team that, you know, whether it be under Redknapp, under Pochettino, have always played a great brand of football, and I had a bit about them. There was no spike, but last night it was just something different. I loved seeing Romero get into Maguire and that sort of tasty fight, and then the same with Van der Ven. Porro, Richarlison make some amazing sort of defensive plays. You just sort of, again, it must be something you want to see them bring into next season.
100%. Resilient, doggedness, a real unit, a team, which you don't see often with Spurs this season in the league campaign. I think if you look at the players missing, Kulusevski, Maddison, Bergvall, all creative players. We had to play that defensive style yesterday. And once when a goal up in the 41st minute, I thought second half they were going to come out and play that way. We've seen it in other games in and around Europe as well. They similar really at Bodo Glimt as well. They got the goals up and then just sat back and soaked up the pressure. And I think with the players they had on the pitch yesterday, particularly those two centre halves, they could afford to do that.
Lastly from me, Darren, it'd be remiss of us to talk about what season it's been for you and all the clubs you're affiliated with. Palace, Newcastle, your own Spurs, Charlton are onto a good one.
Yeah.
Happy
Birmingham
days.
Smashing records in League One. I mean, Birmingham don't really affiliate themselves with me, but I was there for a few games. It's been tremendous. Like I was at the Cup final, I was at the FA Cup final as well with Crystal Palace. I was working pitch side. It's been a season of trophy droughts ending, and I think with Newcastle and Palace in particular, it's been magnificent. Newcastle, I'm delighted they got that over the line in the League Cup, and they will certainly build on that. But Crystal Palace, and I said this on the day, this could be a club-changing moment because they're now in Europe. So the players, unless a big Champions League European side comes in for their players, they don't need to leave. They've got a club where they're idolised as legends now for getting that one over the line. The atmosphere was one of the best I've ever seen, not just at Wembley but anywhere in the country. I thought it was magnificent. So just to be there and be a small cog in that football club is been a real privilege for me. And as you said, it's been a great year for me, for the clubs I've been involved in.
Yeah, special year for you, special year for those clubs. Darren Ambrose, thank you so much, mate.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.